Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
I'm Bob. How's it going?
We're back for another 2022 ski comparison. I think we've gotten more requests for this category than anything else this year.
This is a popular and a fun one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of requests for... It's funny, I think it's like the extremity, like we're getting a lot of requests for front side and powder.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense because not too many people talk about those kind of fringe skis.
Right.
We've been talking about it quite a bit, just kind of off camera, off the cuff. I feel like, I don't know, now that I'm about to say this, I'm kind of contradicting myself, but sometimes when you get really wide or really narrow, it kind of feels like there's less differences between the skis.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think on this wall, you get a ton of differences in the shape. It's more just like the application.
Yeah.
All of these skis are likely going to be used in soft snow. The softer the snow, I think like the less difference you feel in a ski. But anyways, pretty fun wall. We've got a big range in widths here from 108 all the way to 127.
129 in
129.
This length, yeah.
So there is definitely a variety of skis up here. Obviously they're all somewhat designed for soft snow.
Yeah.
So that's a good place to kind of start. And the first ski that we're going to talk about is this Armada Declivity 108 Ti. So, gosh, we've had, this will be the fourth declivity that we've had in a comparison. And this is the newest declivity. So previously there was the 82, 92, 102. For this season, they're adding this 108.
Yeah.
So the most soft snow oriented of all the declivity skis. This one comes in right around 1,960 grams, and this is the 182 centimeter length.
Yeah, we also get a 190. And those are the only two sizes, so it's bigger.
Exactly. So it's one of those skis that's designed for a relatively strong skier, designed certainly for soft snow. As we go up in width in the declivity line, this is something that we've talked about before, we get more and more rocker. Probably the most noticeable in this 108. You know, even like compared to the 102, there's noticeably longer rocker in this ski. It is a directional shape, so more tip rocker than tail rocker. And then we get relatively light wood core in these skis, and their articulated Titanal banding. So we've talked about that plenty of times before. You get a sheet of metal, and in the kind of forebody of the ski here, they cut slits into it, put an elastic compound in between those slits. It's allowing the ski to kind of twist a little bit more up here.
Yeah.
You know, once you get into a turn, the rest of the ski is pretty darn strong, but up here it's going to allow the ski to articulate a little bit. So, super fun skis. I had a blast testing those skis. We had a nice day with Armada this year. Not a ton of soft snow, but enough to kind of play around and see what they could do.
Yep.
And I would say among skis on this wall, this is one of the most well-rounded. Pretty fun in soft snow. You know, you get the benefit of that shape, relatively easy edge release, but there's some good stability to it as well. And sub 2,000 grams, which there aren't that many skis up here that are sub 2,000 grams.
Right.
So, although the ski is pretty strong, you know, good vibration damping out of it. Again, like pretty strong flex pattern there, but it's fairly easy to kind of toss around. So, very good ski. You know, there aren't really many skis up here that are going to be a one ski quiver, but maybe this would be one of them. Like if you skied out west and you just always found yourself in soft snow, but you wanted something with some good stability to it as well, I think the declivity would be a great choice.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, we had a good day. I got to ski the 190, which is always nice, getting to ski like the appropriate length, like, you know, for a test. And like the other declivities, just quiet, smooth, powerful, strong, like nothing wrong with what they came out with on this one.
Yep.
Really kind of like that long tip rocker. I love the shovel of these skis.
Yeah, I think it gives it more float than the waist width might indicate.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's also interesting that, you know, these first five skis, 108 underfoot, you know, there are a few differences between them, but, you know, I would say that one is definitely like on the more stable side.
Yeah.
You know, directional.
Yep.
Directional stability.
Yeah, very smooth.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as stable as the next ski that we're
Right.
going to look at in terms of just like raw power, or
Yeah.
like if you want to ski like 70 miles an hour down an open bowl or something silly. But you know, I would certainly think that you're going to see some of these on like the Freeride World Tour.
Yep.
Plenty of stability for something like that, but then easy edge release too.
Mm-hmm.
Good mix of like the stability you need, but also a reasonable amount of forgiveness, I'd say. Especially if you're in an expert level skier, you'll find some forgiveness in this ski.
And just a lot of fun, just like all the other declivities.
Yeah, super fun skis. You know, like we've said before, they did a great job designing those skis. You know, they make another ski that's 108 underfoot. We could have the Tracer 108 up here.
Yep.
We don't, because we've talked about it in other comparisons, so thought it'd be fun to get this guy up here, but it's a nice complement in their line to Tracer 108, ARV 106, a little bit stronger, a little bit more powerful, more vibration damping.
Yeah.
So complements existing Armada skis very nicely.
And speaking of power and strength, we move pretty much right to the, I would venture to say, the top end of the spectrum on this wall.
Totally.
This is the Katana 108. You know, built much like the rest of the Mantra line and the Kendos, a little bit wider, a little bit heavier. You know, when Jeff picked them up off the wall, I'm sure you noticed quite a bit of difference between that and the Armada.
Yeah, noticeable difference.
You know, 2365 right on the scale right now, so we're 400 grams over. This is the 184. We got that Titanal frame construction, so metal over the edges. And then in the shovel and then through the tail, leaving the middle of the ski kind of free from that metal, a little bit more forgiving and playful. Not attached, so there's two separate metal frames in the shovel and the tail. And for, if we want to call it flex, that's what it allows the ski to do, is just flex a little bit more naturally. But that really takes quite a bit of effort to get this thing to bend. Also benefits from Volkl's 3D radius side cut. So I think that like for a ski like this, it really makes a lot of sense. Able to make it just a little bit shorter underfoot while keeping the front and the back, you know, more likely and likeable in longer turn shapes. So as you hit those higher speeds, this thing isn't going to want to just hook up and turn. It's going to go where you point it. What are these numbers here? The tips and tails are long, 39 and 34 in the tips and the tails, and then 19 underfoot. So, you know, pretty straight stick.
Absolutely.
You know, you want to get on this thing at the top of a bowl, you know, doesn't have to be the deepest day. You know, could be days after a storm, and you're going to point this thing and you're going to go. You know, anything chalky, anything that's a little bit firmer, you're going to want the stability and power of this.
Yeah, extremely strong.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what they're doing on the top end of this performance spectrum. So, you know, just a great addition to that Mantra-ish lineup, you know, coming up from the Mantra 102. You know, if you're looking for extra power and flotation with that high speed, then this is a fantastic choice.
Yeah, certainly not the most playful ski on this wall.
No.
Maybe the least playful, but
probably.
I don't think that's, you know, and I don't say that as a negative.
Yeah.
That's just how it's designed. And, you know, talk about complementing skis within a line. Perfect complement to the Blaze 106.
Yep.
Very nice complement to that ski over there.
This one.
You know, Volkl's got a massive rockered, super playful powder ski.
Yeah.
The Katana's more kind of big mountain charger type ski. You know, maybe you'll see somebody on the Freeride World Tour, but I don't even know if they would choose it, because it's pretty or fairly one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I guess depending on the venue, I think like maybe you'd see a Freeride World Tour guy on a Katana.
Yeah.
Super cool skis. I like always think back to this year's ski test. Matt McLary got on a pair of these, and it was like extremely challenging to film. Because the turn shapes were just so big. I was like, I'm not going that fast.
And you don't want to film on a Katana either.
No, bad filming ski. Next up, we're kind of, I would say this marks a quite a bit of a difference between the first two skis we talked about, especially the last ski we talked about. I suppose some similarities to the Declivity. This is the ZX108 from Kastle. We just talked about the ZX100 in another comparison. Very, very similar between the ZX100 and the ZX108. You just get a little bit more width out of the ZX108. That's their macro block construction. These skis do come in a little less expensive than like MX, FX skis, so nice to be able to get that Kastle quality, but at a slightly lower price point. Weight's kind of right in between the first two skis we looked at, right around 2070 grams. Like I said, there aren't too many skis up here that are going to go sub 2,000 grams just because of their width.
Right.
It's just a lot of materials in these skis. So, you know, reasonable weight there. To me, this is a very, very good directional powder ski for somebody who doesn't need something super wide.
Yeah.
You know, we got a lot of really wide skis over there. I personally don't own anything wider than like right here.
Yeah.
You know, we're here in Stowe, Vermont, so we don't need crazy wide skis. There certainly are benefits to skis over there, and like I've owned skis that wide and they're a lot of fun. But for a lot of skiers, this is plenty.
Plenty of width.
Eastern skiers, even Western skiers, 108 underfoot and a powder ski is kind of all you need in a lot of applications. So nice long tip rocker out of this ski. Hollow tech in the tip always helps just give it a little more float.
Yep.
A little more agility too. There is less tail rocker than tip rocker, which is kind of where we're getting that directional performance. 19.2 meter turn radius in this ski, so kind of on the shorter end of the turn radius spectrum. Not the shortest, but you know, 19.2 is relatively short for a ski this big. And although it doesn't have much tail rocker, to me it's a pretty surfy, smeary ski.
Yeah.
Achieves like a really nice balance of precision, but also super easy edge release. Easier than you might expect just looking at the amount of tail rocker back there. So that's where, you know, it's just a very well-rounded powder ski. You know, where the first two skis we looked at, I don't know if I would call them powder-specific skis. Maybe this isn't either, but this feels like it's leaning more towards a powder application rather than like big mountain or more versatility for different conditions in those first two skis.
And it's interesting how this ski generates its energy versus the next ski we're going to look at. You know, this one has that kind of snappy energy from the construction, whereas that M-Free, which we can get to in a second, generates it from the camber underfoot. So, you know, this one doesn't have that totally bowed out underfoot camber. You know, there is a little bit, but it's not like we'll see next time. So it's interesting how these different skis achieve their energy in and out of the turn through different methods.
Yeah, everything about this ski's shape is very moderate, in my opinion, which is a big reason why it strikes that nice balance between precision and smeariness and playfulness. And you know, Kastle is very good at making very well refined skis, and I think that's a great example.
And we had done the M-Free 99 in a previous review comparison. This is the 108, so this one came out 2 seasons ago, and another one that we happened to get on for good testing conditions. You know, I think we had like a nice 6 or 7 inch
it was perfect
snow day, which
Super
was
fun.
just wonderful for these skis.
I think that was the really windy day.
Maybe. I remember it was like ended up being freezing fog and was difficult to get good footage, but it was fun to ski. This is the 192, so it is a bigger length, 2,300, just about 2,310 grams, so kind of back up there in the weight category. A lot of this has to do with the similar construction that they use with their with all of their skis really, but in the M-Free, this hybrid wood core has poplar in the middle and then polyurethane on the sides with fiberglass mixed in. So the polyurethane, that PU material, is a little bit heavier, but it does result in an appropriate amount of stability and responsiveness as well. So it's, you know, it's give and take. You're giving up a little bit of weight, or you're giving weight, but you're getting that stability and energy out of the ski. And like I was just saying, we really see it in the underfoot camber perspective. So there's just a lot of underfoot camber there. This is definitely the most mustachioed shaped ski that we've seen so far. So dramatic tip and tail rocker with the camber underfoot.
Definitely the most tail rocker we've seen by far.
And as I was bringing the ski up here, I started pinching this thing together, and like this is a really good like forearm workout. Like,
because it's so much camber, there's so much energy in it.
Yeah, the amount of energy in this camber is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So that's worth note. And as a result, you know, when you hit this part of the ski in your turn, you get a lot of energy coming out of it. And that was one of my takeaways was, wow, for how playful and drifty this thing is, it's got some good snap to it. And then just, you know, really nice long rocker in the tip. When you decamber it, it even makes it pop out a little bit more. Nice splay there. Really, I mean, certainly the most playful and floaty ski that we've seen so far.
Oh, absolutely. Very bouncy and playful.
Yep, yeah. Just a really nice overall ski. You know, I want to say that they, you know, took this from the 99, but it's really the other way around.
Right,
you know,
they took the 99 from this.
Yeah. And this also comes in a 118 too. And we do see a couple of other skis here that have wider or narrower counterparts within the line that we haven't included, and we can kind of touch on those when we get to them. But this does have the wider 118 as well, so 99, 108, 118 in this M-Free line. This is certainly the most well-rounded in terms of soft snow and playfulness. With just a ton of energy and just a great ski. Yeah,
super fun. Definitely the most playful of the 4 skis we've looked at so far.
Yeah.
And if you swapped the Katana and the Declivity, it would be like a nice progression of least playful to most playful in those first 4 skis. And yeah, super fun. You know, it's always, my mind and my eyes always go to like twin tip shape skis. You know, certainly some freestyle influence in this ski. So if you're like a backcountry jibber type skier, or if you're hitting backcountry jumps, or if you have any thoughts about skiing switch and powder, you know, you really need a shape like this rather than the skis we've looked at so far. And we'll see more and more of that as we go through more and more twin tips. But yeah, certainly some freestyle influence in this ski's shape and application. You're going to see some Dynastar athletes out there doing some impressive things on M-Free 108s, almost definitely. Next ski is the Black Crow's Atris. This is one of the shorter lengths we have up here, and if we take the first 4 skis we've looked at so far, you know, we've got some skis that are very strong, very stable. We've got that M-Free that's very surfy and playful. This feels like it's kind of blending a lot of that together. If anything, it might lean a little more towards the M-Free side of things, at least certainly more M-Free than Katana, I think is fair to say. But yeah, the Atris is an awesome ski. I'm consistently impressed by this ski, and this is one that like comes up in comments every once in a while. A lot of time we'll get comments from people that skis in this range a lot and say like, no, that carves really well too. And it's always kind of, you know, you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt because they're really wide. But this is one of those skis that like amazingly actually does carve really well. Pretty simple construction in this ski, just poplar wood core. Nice shape to it. And before I take this off the scale, this is one of those rare skis that's under 2,000 grams. We are on the shorter end of the spectrum too at 178.3, but we're about 1,915 grams. So not super heavy. And then like I was saying, it's a nice blend of the first 4 skis that we've looked at, and you kind of see that in its shape. So a good amount of tip rocker up here, you know, consistent with what we've seen so far, and then look at the tail rocker, and that's kind of where we're seeing that blend. So more than the first 3 skis that we looked at, a little less than the M-Free 108. So not quite as surfy smeary as the M-Free 108, but pretty darn easy to release the tail edge in this thing too.
Yeah.
Super, super fun skis. I like the amount of camber they have underfoot. Again, you know, not quite as high rise camber as the M-Free, but you still get some good stability out of it, some good responsiveness, some good energy. Nice snappy, energetic, very even round flex pattern in this ski. This thing comes up in questions a lot. And I think it can check a lot of boxes for a lot of different skiers. You know, I think for a playful kind of freestyle guy, there's enough tail rocker, enough of a twin tip shape that you can do some kind of fun, playful things on it. For a directional skier, you know, that just wants a well-rounded powder ski, great choice.
Wonderful.
Really, really good choice. You know, we've got the Nocta down there, and obviously there's more float in the Nocta, but I wouldn't need any more float than what this provides.
Right.
I think this ski would be a great East Coast powder ski, or more of like a, you know, maybe even close to a daily driver for a Western skier who prefers to stay off trail.
Yep.
So super fun skis.
And we had the Anima, which we didn't have, you know, at 115 underfoot. That would
kind of fall right in between.
Slide right in here. Similar type of camber and rocker profile. A little bit more dramatic, a little more burly, but...
Yeah, it's interesting how those skis kind of fall into Black Crow's line.
Yeah.
From Atris, or from Anima to, Atris to Anima to Nocta, you go like playful, less playful, more playful in those skis. So it's not just a progression in width. It's not just like as you go wider, they get more playful. This ski is a little more agile, a little bit more fun, I would say, than the Anima.
Nice high edge angles are able to be achieved on that. I think we have some good photos of Brad putting those things over pretty well. Yep. And that was a nice soft groomer day.
Yeah. And we've had this ski, you know, we've tested this ski for a while now, so we've had it in numerous different conditions, and it's very well rounded. You know, powder, spring corn, groomers, it can pretty much handle a little bit of everything.
Next up, Nordica Enforcer 110. We do see a lot of rounded tails on these, and this has been the most difficult wall to keep vertical. And that's, you know, that's by design. You know, when you look at these rounder tails, that, you know, ends up in a cleaner and smoother release in soft snow. So there are, you know, they're hard to balance on the scale, and they don't like to stay upright very well, but
we'll do our best.
Doing our best. This is the 185 here, 2280 grams on the scale. So, you know, back up there above, you know, well above 2,000, almost at 2,300. This one follows that same enforcer-free principle of a more rockered version of the original enforcer with that additional width, more turned up tail, but still keeping that construction, you know, as more of that damp and solid build that really makes this one of the strongest skis here.
Kind of like take the last 2 skis we just looked at and add a bunch of metal.
Yeah. And more playful than the Katana.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see that, and you know, just capable of making those nice, clean, round turns. You know, I have more experience on this on groom snow, and am not disappointed. In how it handles.
Yeah, actually,
you know, having
firm snow really well.
Yeah, I haven't been fortunate enough to get on this in a deep day yet, but from my experience on the groomers and with the other enforcer skis, I wager that it would be just fine.
I've owned 3 pairs now,
of
so
the 110s.
So I've skied it in I've skied it in every snow condition you can imagine.
Yeah, nice even flex too. It's not. You know, it's not like when you're hand flexing that Katana and you really have to push. I mean, you know, you can tell that there's metal and that there's material in there, but it's not overwhelming by a large margin. And then, similar to that M-Free, we do see that nice high camber underfoot with that more dramatic tail rocker profile. and then that follows suit into the tips as well. So just a nice overall shape. We talk about this enforcer shape a lot, with that side cut extending out past the rocker profile, allowing you to really just kind of maximize the full side cut of the ski and get your nice clean round turns while keeping it pretty light and nimble. You know, not light by the scale, but it feels
it skis lighter
light
than
in a turn.
Yeah, it skis lighter than its weight on paper.
Light, heavy on paper, heavy on your foot on the chairlift, but once you activate this thing, it feels lighter, you know, on snow.
Yeah.
So just a really, really strong overall ski. Another good high edge angle model here. You get this thing up, you really activate that whole side cut, you're going to get some clean round turns. What is this one here? 18.5 meter turn radius.
Yeah,
so
on the shorter end.
On the shorter end for sure. But that doesn't mean that it won't go fast either.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's what we've kind of seen from these enforcer skis in the past. But just a really great option for, you know, if you're an enforcer fan, you know, like having that 88 or 94 to complement the 110. You know, this is really where you can stay in a series and have this be the wider ski of your enforcer quiver.
Yep.
They do make the 115 as well, just a thicker wood core.
And only a 192.
Only a 191. So, but similar with the rocker profile and the taper shape, just a little bit wider and longer than this one and thicker in the core. So, you know, that ski would have gone well in this as well. But just kind of highlighting the versatility and the stability of this, I think is certainly worthy of this one being involved.
Yeah, the reason I keep coming back to it is it's just got like you were saying, it's a nice blend of stability but also maneuverability and playfulness. So like I actually don't ski them that much around here anymore since the 104 came out. 104 just is a little quicker edge to edge, works a little bit better in most of the conditions we have in the trees and stuff like that. But the 110 for me, like I just keep putting a pair back in my quiver because it's the type of ski that, like, if I'm going on a trip out west, I'm putting that in my ski bag. Probably put a narrower ski too, like a, you know, whatever, like something under 100 underfoot. But it's big and strong, so you can ski open western terrain. But then if we got like 2 feet of snow here at Stowe, it still has the agility that if I want to boost the float a little bit from my 104s, I take the 110. Not really light enough for touring. We haven't really talked about touring too much quite yet, but to me, the weight, you know, is a little bit of a downside if you're thinking about touring on these skis. I say that if you've watched my quiver video, you know that I put a touring binding on mine. So don't, you know, if it's something you really want to do, but if it's going to be a dedicated touring ski, it is on the heavier side. And I kind of bring that up because this ski is the lightest ski that we're going to talk about. Oh, I thought that was falling over.
No, I got it.
All right. This is the Core 111 from Head. This thing is just over 1,800 grams, and this is the, 184 centimeter length? So, certainly the lightest ski up here. If you do want to do Smalpine touring, this is a great option. We've talked about the cores a lot now. They refined them for the 2022 ski season. So they took out the coroid. We still get graphene and carbon, super light wood in here. They actually they changed the application of carbon. I think it's a little bit smoother now. We also get this this milling of the core of the ski. So it's convex along the edges. And I think that kind of increases its smoothness as well. This thing is a lot of fun to ski. For me, within the Head core line, as you go up in width, they really they have a different feel to me. This one, you know, if I was to compare this to the Core 99, it's much more playful and a little smoother. And I think a lot of that's coming from the shape. So as you move up in width, kind of unsurprisingly, we get more and more rocker. So this 111, not the most rocker that we're going to see on this wall by any means, but a good amount of tip rocker up there. And then fairly significantly more rise in the tail. And I think that's really where the change in performance is coming from. I found these much easier to release the tail edge than like a Core 99, or at least in doing so, they're a little more drifty, a little more smeary. Still very stiff.
Yeah, it's still got that core stiffness.
Similar to kind of the shape, as you go up in width, they get a little bit softer, which I think is important. But yeah, still, you can see that strong core flex. But you guys probably can't see it on camera, but you do get a little more flexibility out of that tail, which is really going a long way. So 100% a directional ski, not a twin tip by any means. Really, really good for somebody who wants to focus on something that's lightweight and agile. Extremely precise, extremely responsive. If you want to ski that wide as an Eastern powder ski, I think this is a really good choice because of its quickness. I'd say, the next couple of skis we're going to look at are too, for similar reasons. But yeah, if you want it to be light, if you want it to be snappy and responsive and quick and precise, doesn't get much better than the Core 111.
Yep.
They do have a Core 117 as well.
It'll be like right here.
Yep, so if you really want to go super wide within the Core line, you can go 117. This 111 is new, kind of filling the gap between 105 and 107. And I had a lot of fun on it.
Yeah.
I think I did a couple 180s and like kind of played around with its capabilities in that sense. It is, it's not a twin tip, but there's some playfulness to it.
Yeah, and I think these core skis vary more per width than like an Enforcer series in terms of the feel.
I agree 100%.
So it's interesting, like I like how they have this new width here to take that spot, and it does make a lot of sense. And you're more basing your choice on the flotation of the ski versus anything else.
Yep.
But really, really nice addition to the core line.
Yeah, I agree. Even though 111's really wide and like you're not gonna ski that thing all the time, on our test day, I kept wanting to ski it more and more and more, and it's not like it was a super deep day. It was just the style and the feel of this ski kind of matches how I like to ski more than some of the narrower cores. I think is fair to say.
And like you said, like a lot of people really just want a lighter, wider ski that's easy to ski in fresh snow, and I think that really fits that bill quite well.
Yeah, and I think that's a good transition to this ski as well.
Yeah, and we put this thing on the scale just before, and we're both kind of a little bit surprised at how it tipped the scales, but like the Enforcer, the weight on paper does not equate to the weight on snow.
No.
So 50 grams just about. This is the DPS Pagoda 112 RP. So Pagoda is kind of another refinement over their Whaler Alchemist skis from yesteryear. So they just altered the wood core just a little bit in these, but they're keeping the shape the same. So now they have a blend of 3 woods in here. It's aspen and paulownia and ash. So they blend those to both save weight and increase stability and energy. Works really well. That Pagoda Piste is just the aspen and ash. They don't have the paulownia and the denser, more on-piste oriented skis. And then the RP shaping, their RP stands for Resort Powder. So, this is a great option for, that skier who is at the resort, riding the lifts pretty much all the time and wants something that's easy and bouncy and maneuverable and playful and just super floaty. So in order to achieve their short 15-meter turn radius, they have to taper and rocker the ski accordingly. So I think it's fair to say this is the earliest, most dramatic
It's
taper
certainly the most dramatic.
seen.
I don't know if earliest, I would hesitate to say earliest, but most dramatic, certainly.
Most 5-pointy side cut so far.
Absolutely.
So widest part of the ski is well down. We do see a pretty monster amount of splay there as well. So that rocker and that taper line up really, pretty close. And that results in this huge distance there. Got that camber underfoot, and then we're seeing a similar type of you know, that rocker starts well down, you know, right, I'll show that taper in a second, but well down a little bit below where that taper starts. So long, long, long in the back. And then that widest part of the ski right about here. So we're definitely seeing the tips and tails and the taper shape, allowing that ski to just cut right through the powder, super smooth, easy to use. And then with that more gratuitous tail taper as well, like, you know, certainly not a freestyle twin tip shape, but the splay is, you know, is almost there.
You've brought up a shape like that in its benefits in tight trees.
Yes.
You got to back out of a spot.
Yep.
You know, both that and its easy edge release.
Yeah.
There's certainly some benefits to a tail shape like that. Even,
Yeah.
You know, not skiing switch. Like take switch skiing out of it entirely.
Right.
This thing would feel weird skiing switch, just because of the drastic like tip to
Right.
tail taper. But yeah, no, it's super beneficial having that tail back there.
Yeah, it's a useful shape for sure.
Yeah.
And then, like all these other DPS skis, we got 2 sheets of carbon, top and bottom, and that leads to the, you know, that stiffer flex. I mean, it's pretty progressive and consistent, but you can definitely still tell that there's a good amount of carbon near, and it's a, you know, when I think of DPS and where they started and where they are now, this is the ski that I think of. Like if someone just says DPS, I think
that's pretty much
Pagoda
the shape.
112.
That's like the shape that started it all.
Yeah.
You know, more or less.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're really cool skis. They're extremely unique.
Yep.
They're also, you know, I think it's fair to bring up that they're the most expensive skis on this wall.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that before, and the quality of carbon that they use doesn't degrade.
Right.
So if you want a ski that'll last you for seasons and seasons and seasons to come, it's a really good choice. Made in the United States. We get the American flag on there. Somebody in a comment section mentioned that we should put in country of manufacturing.
Yep.
Which I think is really interesting. Obviously, we haven't done that yet, but this is made in the United States. So if you want to support a U.S.-based company, U.S.-based manufacturing, and not just the longevity of the carbon, but the top sheet they put on these things is very durable. So you're going to get less chipping, stuff like that. It really is a ski that will last you for a long time.
Yeah.
And it will ski the same on day one as it will on day whatever.
Yeah, which is like bouncy and energetic, and it's not going to lose that energy, which is a nice thing.
Super fun. You know, like I said, I think we mentioned something about this ski in the similar regard. You know, to me, this is getting kind of wide for an East Coast powder ski, but this one's really good.
Yep.
You know, the way that this thing kind of wiggles through stow terrain is really confidence inspiring and a lot of fun. I had a similar experience when we tested I think it was still the Whaler 100, but it was one of those skis that like made me feel better, just in how agile it was, and I was able to make turns that I couldn't on like a ski like this.
Yeah.
You know, just quicker. Like I could get around that tree a little quicker, and then that would put me in a different spot there, and so super fun.
I mean, you're talking about the responsiveness of carbon.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a successful application of carbon, like versus a more something that's more pingier.
Yep.
Like carbon can have the reputation for being pingy.
Yeah.
And it does
is
not.
very smooth.
It doesn't do it in that. It's responsive and it's agile.
Yeah.
So.
Next ski we got here is the Rustler 11 from Blizzard. Back again for another season. Very well-rounded ski. You know, we've used that term to talk about a few skis so far. You know, ZX, very well-rounded. Atris, very well-rounded. I think this Rustler 11 is another one that's a very well-rounded ski. The widest ski in the Rustler line, not the widest ski that Blizzard makes. And actually, going back to this DPS, I wanted to just quickly mention that they have the Koala 118.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, there is another DPS ski that would be over probably next to that Gamer, and more similar shape to that Gamer as well. But back to the Rustler 11. So widest ski in the Rustler line. This one's coming in at 2,050 grams, give or take. As we said about the declivities and some other skis, as you go wider and wider in the Rustler line, you get more and more rocker. You also get shorter metal, which we'll look at in a second. So good amount of tip rocker in this ski, good amount of tail rocker in the ski as well. Not really a twin tip shape, but there's enough back there that if you wanted to ski switch on it, you could. I think the benefit of this is more just how smeary it is.
Yeah.
The ease of edge release. And then carbon flip core DRT construction. I always really like that. Sometimes ski manufacturers can get a little wordy in how they describe their construction, but what I like about DRT is it's an acronym for Dynamic Release Technology, and that's the whole idea behind these skis.
Yeah.
So we just looked at the rocker camber profile. That basically matches the length of the metal. So the metal in this ski goes from one of my hands to the other hand, full width underfoot, and then kind of tapers as we've seen in all the Rustler skis. So that gives you a strong feeling ski underfoot, but much lighter tips and tails. That also means softer flexing tips and tails. So before we started filming, Bob, you had a really good thought about these skis, as it's very similar to the Enforcer 100, but just take a little bit off the top end.
Yeah.
This ski is a little stronger at high speeds. On the other end of the spectrum, this ski is a little more agile with easier maneuverability at slower speeds.
Yeah, and I also found just better like snap out of the turn
Yep.
in this ski as well.
More accessible,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yep.
You don't have to ski it quite as hard as a ski like this. Really good ski. And another one that like you could stick within the Rustler line. You could have a Rustler 9 and a Rustler 11
Yep.
and have a really nice two ski quiver. And it would be, similar to what we just said about this. If you want a more powerful, more precise two ski quiver, you could go Enforcer 88 or Enforcer 94 and then Enforcer 110. If you want a little bit more playfulness, you could go Rustler 9 and then Rustler 11.
Yep.
Or you could do something like Brahma 88 or Bonafide 97 and have like a ripping powerful ski, and then get this as a more agile, more playful ski.
Yeah, and these are, they're 20 millimeters wider than the Rustler 9. So
Yeah,
it's a big gap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% different
Yeah,
ski, even
very
though they're
different.
within the same line.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I mean. Like you could have a two ski Rustler
Yeah.
quiver and have a ton of fun.
And it's pretty cool when you line up like the 180 Rustlers next to each other.
Yeah, and you can really see
you
the
see the metal staging up,
Yeah.
aligning with the rocker profile. So
yeah.
it's kind of these things that we take for granted that the ski engineers did not. They looked at this and said, okay, we're going to line the metal up with the rocker profile,
Yep.
and it's going to make this ski be this much more floaty and fun without taking away from
Yep.
the energy on trail. So
Yeah, they're not just putting things in here randomly.
right. No.
it's all designed for a purpose. And yeah, the Rustler 11's a really good ski. Also, in terms of like who is going to ski it, I think there's a huge range of skiers
Yeah.
that can ski this. You can put a powerful expert skier on these and they're going to have fun and think it's just extremely agile and playful. I think an intermediate could ski the Rustler 11. I think you'd want to be a relatively athletic intermediate, but I wouldn't have any hesitation putting an upper level intermediate on this ski if they wanted maybe their first powder ski.
Yep. Another new model here. We got a Salomon QST Blank.
Probably the best footage that you're going to see too.
Yeah, if we could dial up a day to get footage on, the ones that we got on this Blank would be them.
And like just a quick note on footage in general, it is challenging for us to get footage in deep powder.
Right.
So you're going to see less footage in this comparison than some of them. And I totally understand that if you see us testing one of these skis on firm snow, you might be thinking like, that's not what that ski is for. Sometimes often that's the easiest place to get footage. Sometimes that's where we have to test them, but we pretty much always have at least the ability to take them into some softer snow.
Yeah.
You might just not see it on camera.
Right.
Anyways,
new ski, QST Blank. This one is now the widest ski in Salomon's lineup, So the 118,
Yep.
sorry,
QST 118.
Yeah, 118's gone. This is 112 underfoot, and quite a departure from not just from the width, but also in the construction and the shaping techniques. So some interesting stuff here. Similar in the wood core, they still have CFX material in the tips and tails. They got that Powerwall sidewall, so a little bit stronger underfoot here. Where they've really made the change is in the taper and the rocker. That 118 was a pretty straight shooter with low rocker in the tips and the tails. This is quite different, and you know, one of the reasons they do this is to differentiate it from like the Stance series of skis, to make this the more playful and free ride aspect of it. And then another one is it's just more appealing to a broader range of skiers. So, you know, they just weren't selling a ton of the 118s.
Yeah.
Because it's very specific.
Yeah, and we put out a full review of this ski,
Yeah.
and there were some comments from people, 118 skiers, that were kind of disappointed that this is going away, and I totally understand that. But I think, like, if you're watching this, you are a small percentage of skiers, and maybe you'll have to move to a different brand. I understand that, but like you were saying, this is a more well-rounded ski. There's more skiers that are going to benefit from this.
Yeah. So in that shaping and profile, first of all, 2,200 grams here on the 186. So, you know, it's got some heft to it, no metal in it, but still just, you know, relies on that CFX material and the wood core and the fiberglass to really get the stability and power. But they've really tightened up, or elongated that taper shape, and almost to the point of that DPS. I was looking at the turn shapes before this and was pretty surprised to see, you know, just how short of a radius this ski has. So in the 186, it's 17 meters as opposed to that 15-meter arc. So we're back on the sub 20 by a good margin.
And that's one of the ways it differs from the 118.
Yeah.
The 118 was like 27.
Yeah, it was huge. It was very straight. So we are seeing more of that 5-point side cut like we see in that DPS, and like we'll see in this Armada down here. And then and that follows through in the tail as well, where that widest part is, you know, definitely brought more towards the midpoint of the ski. So that's going to shorten the turn radius up. And then we had the 98, the QST 98 in another review, and this shares the rocker profile with that, which is just pretty dramatic.
Yep.
So we're seeing that long rocker profile leading to that nice splay in the tips, and then similar in the tails. So really nice distance there. Going to give you that free ride flotation. You know, and it's hard to kind of say that, you know, this ski floats better than other skis on this wall, but the fact that it has that amount of rocker in it really sets this apart in the 112 category.
I think it floats better than everything that we've looked at so far.
Yeah, I would say that that's pretty fair to say.
Maybe the Rustler would be kind of the closest comparison.
Yeah, and then like the 98 as well, really just a solid ski. You know, they definitely made this thing really well. Nice even flex, good energy out of it. You know, we got a chance to ski this both in snow and out of snow, and I think that as impressive as the flotation and the smoothness is, I know you found some nice high edge angles on this ski as well.
Yeah.
Not a terrible on trail ski. So, you know, as we're getting up here, we're definitely going to lose some of that on-piste perspective. This might be one of the last ones that we can say pretty strong carver, you know.
Yeah, and even that, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's like not particularly quick edge to edge and stuff like that, but it's the type of thing that's nice to have in a ski, you know, like for us here at Stowe, like maybe you're going and doing like a partial notch run and you're cutting back onto firmer conditions. It's kind of nice to have that performance. You know, out west, you're going to ski open, wide terrain. At some point, you're probably going to find yourself on a cat track or a groomer.
Yeah.
As you get over there into some of those skis when you get on a cat track or a groomer, the skis are just like,
Yeah.
like they don't want to do anything. They're just like, get me to the lift and back in deep snow. Where this, you can keep skiing it. Skis switch pretty well.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. It's a fun ski and tremendously good in soft snow too.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun testing the 118. We did a 118 review, which was probably like our first ever powder ski review. And I skied very, very similar terrain on this, and I know people are concerned about losing some width, but boy, I didn't feel a lack of any float or anything like that in that ski.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to do better with more skiers with this for sure.
Yeah. All right, next ski is the Ranger 115 FR. We're kind of making a pretty big jump in width here. From 112 to 115, we were kind of joking that like no one makes a ski that's 113 or 114 underfoot.
Oh, they might. They just don't call it that.
Yeah, that's true. Somebody probably does. 2,120 grams in the ski, kind of are waffling between that and 2,150. This is built very, very, very similarly to the Ranger 102 FR. We've talked about the Ranger 102 FR way more than we've talked about this ski. But they have very, very similar characteristics. This is just a little wider.
Yep.
So, you know, more float in here, really more of a true powder ski, where that Ranger 102, you know, that thing to me is almost bordering an all-mountain ski. Yep. You know, sometimes we kind of take that out of the freeride category, but this is just smack dab in the freeride powder side of things. Like I said, very, very similar to the 102, so we're going to get a very, very similar shape. We get that long tip rocker that Fischer puts into these Ranger skis, and of course that just incredibly thin carbon nose up here, which really takes some of the swing weight down, which we'll talk about in a little bit. A little bit less amount of rocker in the tail, but we still get some nice splay back there. And this is kind of getting back into the twin tip category. You know, we kind of went a little bit of ways from twin tip skis for a while. To me, this is right back in a twin tip ski. Underfoot, you know, you can see the thickness of the core underfoot, and then they mill it quite a bit down to this carbon nose. We do get a little bit of metal underfoot in these skis, not a ton, but just a little bit, helping with binding retention mostly. These skis, to me, you know, we're getting real wide now, but among skis on that side of the wall, to me, this is one of the most well-rounded. It's pretty stable underfoot. You know, you get some nice supportive flex pattern where that core is thicker. Up here in the tip, you get a little bit more forgiveness, but you do get some nice precision out of this tip as well. You know, by using the amount of carbon that they put into the ski up here, you get good responsiveness and good precision out of this ski. Definitely feels lighter on your feet than the weight on paper. Pretty easy to flick this thing around, which makes it, you know, I'd say more user-friendly and more versatile than most skis that are 115 underfoot.
Yep, I'd agree with that for sure.
Probably another one that you'll see people touring on, you know, not like super, super lightweight, but if you want something this wide, it's pretty tough to find a ski that's really light, which we'll see as we go through these skis over on this side of the wall. But just a lot of fun.
Yep.
You know, solid underfoot, but pretty easy to flick around and have fun on.
Yeah, and I think it's a really nice kind of way to bookend that the Ranger series.
Yep.
You know, it has all the good components of the narrower skis, and then adds just that surfy, playful, fun-loving flotation.
Yep.
And then we move a little bit more directional, back to the directional side, with this K2 Mindbender 116C. You know, this is that wider Mindbender. We could have put a 108 Ti kind of on that side of the wall.
Yeah, it would have fit right in.
But overall, this is the one that makes the transition back to carbon using their carbon spectral braid. Almost knocked that one over there. Maple and paulownia wood here, so a nice kind of contrast of the use of woods with the lighter paulownia and the more dense maple. 40 grams here and the 186. So, you know, again, per the size on the lighter side.
Yep.
And a lot of that has to do with the way that they incorporate their carbon spectral braid. So it's similar to the Mindbender TI with their Titanal Y-beam, with the tighter cross hatching of the carbon stringers in the forebody of the ski and underfoot. And then in the tail, they really lengthen those stringers. So the engineers are able to kind of identify where the ski should have more torsional stiffness. And in a directional ski like this, they have determined that it's better to have it up front than in the back, giving you kind of a better and more easy entry into the turn while still being, you know, the lightness of the carbon make it easy, but then they're able to cross hatch it, make it stiffer and more responsive. And then the tail of the ski, you know, is really able to kind of twist and bend and flex to allow you to dictate that, you know, the proper exit strategy. But, you know, not too stiff. This is definitely one of the softer skis that we've seen so far, and we'll see that again in the upcoming Reckoner. But just a lot of nice, playful, surfy, fun, lightweight, directional capabilities, long rocker, starts about here, you know, and definitely has that moderate to dramatic splay, camber underfoot, and then a little bit flatter in the tail. You know, especially when we looked at it next to that Ranger or the QST Blank there. So this is definitely more on that directional side of the spectrum. But really fun ski, you know, and again, a lot of these are going to be bookends to a series. This one bookends that Mindbender series nicely, incorporating, you know, the precision of the TI versions or the narrower 9DC with that free ride fun, that directional capability. So
yeah, just a phenomenal directional powder ski.
Yep.
If you're not concerned with skiing switch, if you don't care about having like a big amount of splay in the tail of your ski,
yep,
that's a great option. I know a ton of skiers really like that ski. K2 athletes, and then like it's another one that I think there's a big spectrum of people that can get on it and really enjoy it. You know, obviously with skis this wide, there's like limitations in general.
Yeah.
You're not going to put a beginner on a ski that's 118 underfoot. But yeah, if you're like, you know, progressing through your ski ability and you want a powder ski, I think the Mindbender is pretty darn approachable,
yep,
where some of these skis just might feel like a lot. But then an expert can enjoy it
yeah,
as well.
easily.
So, you know, you get that nice big spectrum. And it's cool, you know, when we get to the Reckoner, we'll see the different application of carbon spectral braid.
Yep.
I just really like the comparison there.
You like how they do that.
Yep, another ski that relies heavily on carbon for its performance. This is the Elan Ripstick 116. Awesome ski, you know, definitely a very playful ski. Shares a lot of characteristics with the narrower ripsticks that we talk about quite a bit. They take some materials out of this ski, so we don't get that carbon line, but we still get the tube light wood core. We get those carbon tubes that are so important. Yeah. We get vapor tip as well. So just over 2,000 grams. Actually, the scale just went just under 2,000 grams, but certainly one of the lighter skis up here. Got a little skin attachment point back there, so kind of makes sense that it's on the lighter end of the spectrum. What's interesting with these Ripstick skis is I find that as you go up in width, they get a little burlier.
Yeah.
And I think it just has to do with the amount of material. You know, as you get wider, you get more of everything, mostly in wood in this case, but you get more ski. So if you were to flex this right next to a Ripstick 106, you'd see a little bit stiffer flex pattern in this ski.
Yeah.
But still very, very light. You know, that's something that I feel like if it was heavy, it just wouldn't be a Ripstick.
No,
I'd have to call it something else.
It would lose a lot of that fun-loving personality that series is known for.
Yep. The shape is, you know, it's funny to say like pretty straightforward or well-rounded in a ski that's this wide, but it is. You know, you get good amount of tip rocker up here, nice amount of camber underfoot as well. You know, that's important if you want a ski to give you some feedback, some responsiveness, and then you get almost like a twin tip shape here that they just hacked off.
Yeah, they were sick of building it and just cut it off.
Right, put a skin tip, their skin attachment point there instead of completing the twin tip. So not really something that you're going to want to ski switch on. You certainly could, but I don't really think that's what it's designed for. To me, the best application for this ski is somebody who wants a true powder ski. You know, not that all these skis aren't true powder skis, but you know, you want a bouncy, playful, floaty powder ski that's not too soft, it's not too stiff. It's kind of got that Goldilocks feel to it, where it's just a very, very well refined, well rounded ski. You know, relatively light, especially now that we're getting 115, 116 into these really wider skis. So that makes it a little easier to flick around. I think we're getting a little wide for East Coast application here. I'm sure some of you will disagree with me, and if you do, great. And if you want something this wide, this probably is one of the better ones for East Coast because of its quickness and responsiveness and its agility. But you know, I think it would be unfair to skip over these skis without just talking about the Ripstick feel in general. They are quick, they're playful, they're snappy, they're a ton of fun to ski, but those carbon tubes just give them an impressive amount of vibration damping, so you can ski these things pretty hard and aggressively too. It's not just a playful powder ski.
Right, and then they're right-left ski specific, so they're able to put their amphibio rocker profile in here as well.
Yep.
Making this one of kind of the smoother, driftier, directional skis on this side of the wall. It does work. It makes the ski a lot less hooky and catchy. Not really that any of these are, especially when you're looking at when you're adapting torsional stiffness through the use of carbon. That's what gets this its ability to do that. And then Elan's use of their amphibio rocker profile allows that ski to be driftier in the tips and tails.
Yep.
So keeps the precision on the inside edge and then the fun, loving application on the outside edge.
Yeah, it makes it more intuitive too.
Yep.
You know, the outside edge of your uphill ski is kind of more rockered, and it is less prone to catch and want to kind of pull your inside ski away. So your skis are going to stay more consistent in the same turn, so to speak.
This next one, this gamer, Rossignol gamer here, starts a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 twin tips. So it wasn't even by design. It just happened to be that way that, you know, these next 6 skis all fall into that twin tip category.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, kind of the challenge is how do you differentiate between 6 fat twin tips? And just, you know, from a cursory look, we were able to come up with a pretty, you know, a general and vague way of doing it. This is the heaviest twin tip. This is the
most
heaviest,
powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is the heaviest ski on the wall so far. This is the 186, and it's 2,450 grams. So there's a lot going on with this thing. Starting with a poplar wood core, they have an ABS beam underfoot, which is kind of like a, you know, it's a full width plate of ABS material, kind of taking, you know, the BLACKOPS 98, the Holy Shred, sorry, that uses metal in that zone. This uses ABS, so it's a little bit different of a feel to it. Allows for just a little bit more flex, but has a lot of good energy to it. So at 118 underfoot, we have a lot of that material. We got rubber in the tips, and then we also have Rossi's Diago fiber. So a lot of materials go into this ski, and that's adding up to this almost 2,500 gram weight, which is certainly on the heavier side. But we just get a lot of really nice, playful, freestyle, free-ridey flex to this ski. You know, wide shovels, wide tails, camber underfoot, you know, kind of a similar design to that M-Free, you know, the M-Free 118, and this could be considered kind of, you know, like skis. You know, not like crazy long rocker, but enough splay to certainly keep this thing afloat. But it also has that kind of that shorter rocker profile gives it more of that freestyle flair. So
that really abrupt rise.
Right. You know, it's and that gives it that more twin tip feel to it. So that's where you're getting that freestyle application. You know, not your touring ski.
No.
You know, even I'd go so far as to say this thing would feel pretty darn heavy on your feet going up a lift. You know, we're starting to get to the point where we're using snowmobiles to access
Sure.
deep snow and other methods of uphill conveyance. You know, with this full sidewall ski, so we just see a ton of different, you know, uses for this from an expert, aggressive backcountry freestyle setup.
Yeah, and this is the original BLACKOPS ski.
Right, when they came out with BLACKOPS.
It was just BLACKOPS, and then it was BLACKOPS 118 when they came out with the narrower ski.
Yep.
And yeah, when you talked about how these are, we're going to look at a bunch of different twin tips here. At least these first 2 or 3, I like to think about the athletes that they were built for. These were designed in collaboration and for Chris Logan and Parker White. Both of those guys are very well known for skiing fast and aggressively. They'd ski like gnarly lines really fast, but they both also have really strong freestyle backgrounds. So they wanted a ski that they could just charge on, but also do tricks on.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, you got to remember that those 2 skiers are like 2 of the strongest kind of freestyle freeride skiers in the world.
Right.
So if you're like a mere mortal like us, you might not find this is as easy to do tricks on as you see Chris and Parker do in movies and stuff like that. So remember the weight, you know, when you're choosing this ski. Not to say that it's too heavy, but something to think about if you're a lighter weight skier especially. And I think that's a good transition to the next ski, with that Gamer kind of being the heaviest ski up here. This Chetler 120 is, I believe, the lightest out of this kind of wide twin tip range that we're getting to here. So 1,850 grams in this ski, so very, very lightweight. Pretty impressive that they can keep it this light. What, we're like 600 grams
It's like a whole ski
away
basically.
from the Gamer. Yeah, so it's drastically different. This is obviously Chris Chetler's ski. I would say Chris Chetler is more known for, I'd say, earning his own turns.
Yep.
You know, this is a ski that you could slap some skins on and go touring on very easily. I think Chris is also more known for like kind of precision and more like jibby style tricks in backcountry terrain. So nose butter, tail butter, stuff like that. And that really comes through in this ski's performance. So quite a bit of tip rocker up here. We get that horizon tech that I'm not even going to try and show. That footage didn't show up very well last time.
Came out okay.
All right, fair enough. I think you guys know the gist of horizon tech now. They're basically just giving it more displacement, more surface area up here in the tip. You know, like we said, definitely a twin tip, and we get that horizon tech back here as well. So that's going to give it easy edge release, very drifty and smeary. Just a 19-meter turn radius in this ski too, so you can get it to kind of come across the fall line easier than some. Wood core with some carbon strips in this ski. Combine that. Ooh, thought that thing was going over. Combine that with the amount of camber that it has, and you get a very, very springy flex pattern out of this ski. So where the Gamer is a little more damp, you know, it's going to absorb more vibrations. This is really going to bounce and play and pop off things more easily. Great ski if you're looking to do tricks into really, really deep snow. Also a great ski if you just live somewhere that gets an incredible amount of snow and you want a really fun, floaty, I'll do it again and say well-rounded powder ski.
Yep.
It's light, it's quick, it's relatively easy to ski for something that's 120 underfoot, but with that camber underfoot and you know the kind of supportive flex pattern under there, although it's not super heavy, there's some stability to this ski too when you want to open it up and ski fast over some choppy powder.
Yep.
So super fun.
Great in the trees, you know.
Yeah,
that's,
exactly.
That's my impression of this. Is
Yep.
that it's lightweight and agile enough and floaty enough. If you find yourself in the deep woods, then this is going to be your best buddy for sure.
Yeah.
Continuing our twin tip trend here, we got a Volkl Revolt 121. 121 or 124? I can never
121.
remember. 121. Thank you.
Very welcome.
And this one, we were kind of saying heaviest, lightest, most freestyle oriented.
Yeah, most playful,
perhaps, most
whatever.
playful.
Yeah, whatever word you want to
Yeah.
use. Very ton of freestyle influence in this ski.
This is the 178, I believe. So we 177, 2154 grams. So for its length, it's got some heft to it. And there's not a whole lot going on in terms of intricacies. You know, we're dealing with Volkl's multi-layer wood core and fiberglass.
Simple build.
Pretty simple build. We got a full sidewall on it. You know, like this bent Chetler, the edges end, you know, below here we got full edge going around here. So just kind of adds to the overall stability of the ski and just the strength of the build. But we definitely have that nice, even, soft, gentle flex to it with that good energy coming out of it. I really think that the tail of this ski sets it apart, especially with that tapered shape. And we talk about this with the Revolt 104 as well, where we're seeing this taper early on, and then the widest part of the ski definitely closer to the midpoint. And that lines up pretty well with this just pretty dramatic and long rocker profile in the tail. So I really think this tail makes this thing different. And all I can imagine is, you know, these professional skiers, who did you say?
Ahmet Dadali is the guy that I always think about when I think of the Revolt 121.
And just like riding the tails through powder, you see these switch ups, you know, from forward to backwards, and just like riding the tips, landing on the tails, riding the and just back and forth. And that's what this ski really seems to do really well. We see that pretty dramatic taper in the shovel as well, to go along with that rocker. So huge splay in the tips, probably the biggest that we've seen and will see. Maybe that Armada's a little bit more, but just a tremendous distance here, and that's going to keep the tips of these skis just popped right up and out of the snow. And still some camber underfoot. You know, we're still seeing that, is especially helpful for when the conditions get sketchy and you still need edge grip. You know, something that's this flexible, if you get onto anything that's harder than soft snow, it's going to wash out. So it's nice to have that camber underfoot to at least help activate the edges and get you some confidence in, you know, tight and tricky terrain. But overall, you know, I'm still, you know, I just have in my mind that you're not generally going to be riding a lift with.
Yeah,
I mean, you can,
could.
but you know, we're starting to get to that point where this is other uphill modes.
Certainly a lot of snowmobile access using this ski.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that. Whenever I think about this ski, I have like a mental image of Ahmet Dadali doing like a big switch 5.
Yeah.
He's known for you know, going pretty big and doing cool tricks in the backcountry. And this ski is, you know, catch free on the takeoff with the amount of rocker and taper up here. Sometimes when you get this wide, it can be really hard to spin switch and stuff like that. But then like when you're landing in like 3 feet of fresh snow, this thing will pop you right back up.
And it almost looks like they land switch in the powder at like this angle.
Sometimes, yeah.
And this ski and others like it are just able to bend and, you know, take that landing and pop you into your skiing shape.
Right. No, exactly. It keeps enough of the ski above the snow surface and then pops the rest of it right back up, so you're not going head over heels, so to speak. Next ski is the Black Crow's Nocta, and I think as we were discussing the twin tips up here, we described this one as the surfiest of all the twin tips, and we'll look at the shape and why that is in just a second here. 2,230 grams, so although that's heavier than some of the skis we've looked at up here, this is a 190.6.
Yeah, it's big.
And it's 122 underfoot.
Yeah.
So all things considered, it's actually reasonably lightweight.
Yeah.
It's not like a tremendously heavy ski. What's unique about this ski is you don't really get this much anymore, but we are full rocker here.
Yep.
So no camber in this ski whatsoever. So it's kind of like one of those things where, like, I don't even know, like, how do you measure the tip rocker? Is there that much tip rocker and 170 centimeters of tail rocker?
No, you start at the boot sole and go up.
There. Right. I mean, but basically what I'm saying is we have endless amounts of rocker in this ski.
Yeah.
So that's what's making it just incredibly surfy, incredibly smeary. We get a nice amount of early taper too, but not nearly as drastic as some of the skis we've looked at. So that's actually boosting its float in the tips and tails. Really, really fun ski. Obviously just a pure powder ski. And somebody that's more concerned about float and smeariness and just general powder performance, like the true powder application, rather than doing tricks or endless stability. You know, like the gamer is just so strong, and then those next skis we looked at are really good for somebody who wants to do like high level tricks in the backcountry. To me, this is the highlight of this ski, is just how good it feels when you're skiing deep snow.
Yeah.
Not to say that you can't do tricks on it. A good friend of mine, childhood best friend, Willie Nelson, out in Alta.
Great name.
Yeah, right? He skis this ski quite a bit. He is the type of person that you'll see do some tricks on this ski, but it's usually like 360s and backflips, not like switch 900s or like double cork 1080s or whatever. So you can do some tricks on it, but because of its size, it's not going to be like particularly agile when you're spinning around a lot in the air. But unbelievable float. You know, even though we've got some wider skis over there, like we're about to get, next ski is the same width, but the two after that are a little wider. Honestly, it's hard to say that even though they're wider, it's hard to say that they float better than this. This is some of the most float you will ever experience in a ski, especially in this 190 length.
Yep.
You
a
know,
lot of surface area.
Big tips up here, yeah, a lot of surface area. So, Alaska,
Snowcats,
heli
British
skiing.
Columbia. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's,
you know, like I said, my friend Willie does ski it in Utah, so you could ski it out there too. I believe he has an Atris in his collection as well, and I would venture a guess that you see him on that ski more than you see him on this ski. But yeah, he's I've talked to him quite a bit about the Nocta, and he loves it. And it's just endlessly fun in deep snow.
Yeah, and it's just cool that this is our only truly fully rockered ski.
Yeah,
I can't think of too many others in the industry.
No, and go back 5 or 10 years, and there were more of them.
Yeah.
But there's been somewhat of a departure from full rockered skis. So if that's something you still want, Nocta is one of your only choices.
Yeah, I mean, I had a Volkl Bridge, 95 millimeters underfoot and full rocker, and it was a blast. But you could tell, it didn't quite have that pop that a cambered ski has.
Yep.
But it was the best floating 95 that I've been on.
Sure.
Sticking with these gargantuan twin tips, we got this K2 Reckoner 122. We also have this in a 112. Similar, same construction and build.
Yeah, and the 112, it would have been right here.
Yep.
Instead of like all over there.
Right.
It's still pretty darn wide.
Right. So having a 112 and a 122 in the same lineup is a testament to K2's dedication to floaty free ride fun and soft snow.
Yeah.
Almost 2100, 2090 grams in this one. So for a 122, again, we're kind of on the lighter side of the spectrum.
Yeah, even a little lighter than that Nocta.
Yep. Wood core here, we got fir and aspen, so kind of similar to this where we have a blend of wood core. This one is the softer of the blends. and then they use their carbon spectral braiding in this one as well. So as opposed to this, where it was tight here and loose in the bottom, this is loose in the front and in the tail, and then tighter underfoot.
Yep.
This, I would say, what did we say? This is the most flexible twin tip.
Yeah.
You know, definitely see some good flex in that. Probably similar to this.
Yeah, and to me, there's a lot of similarities between those two skis that you're holding right now.
Yeah, and you know, when I would say this one is a little bit more snappy, more energetic.
Yep.
Yeah, versus the K2,
which actually makes these in a lot of applications a little smoother.
Yeah, especially in
buttering,
pure,
smearing, stuff like that.
Pure fresh snow,
yep.
I would say. And then like we see in these other K2s, I mean, this rocker starts about here. So, I mean, that's a good 30 centimeters of the ski that's rockered in the tip, and then not a whole lot different in the tail. Very long, not as dramatic of a splay. And again, like we saw in that Volkl, just a ton of distance here. This one is a lot, but less.
Yep.
And then we're seeing that free ride specific taper shape as well. So just a nice spoony overall shape in the shovel here, and then through the tail. So about as smooth and drifty as it's going to get.
Yep.
When you're out there in the deep stuff. You know, not a whole lot of application other than fresh snow, I would say, on a ski like this. But when you're in the element and enjoy that playful freeride, freestyle style of skiing,
yep.
You know, there's not a whole lot that's better. I mean,
yeah, definitely more freestyle influence than the Mindbender.
Yeah.
Just to differentiate from that ski that we already looked at. I'm kind of curious actually to put them next to each other. I haven't done this, and obviously the lengths are a little different, but I'm curious. Yeah, so the mount point on the 116 is right there. Recommended mount point, even the further back mount point on this ski is about 4 centimeters further forward.
Yeah.
So you're getting more of a centered mount point on this ski, which makes sense with how much tail rocker it has, but also its intended use.
Yeah.
Going to be more of somebody with a freestyle background, maybe something that you're going to do some tricks on, like we were describing a Met de Dolly on the Revolt 121.
Yeah.
You want to do some big spins, land switch and powder, stuff like that. Here you go.
Right. I'm glad you put this here. I'm just going to put it back for a second. You guys can't see it on the screen, but we kind of get an interesting side view here of these skis, and some of them, the way they lie against the wall is very interesting. And when you look at this one, this Reckoner just goes into the wall,
yeah,
and then the Mindbender comes out from the wall.
Yeah, it's easily like an inch further out from
yeah.
the wall. And probably a better visual for you guys watching if we did that. You know, and just you can see how much this ski has more splay in its rocker profile, where the Mindbender stays a little straighter.
Yeah, and just a really good illustration of the difference between two lines within the same brand.
Right. Like, how are you going to have two skis, 116 and 122, both use carbon spectral braid?
Right.
Like, on paper that doesn't make sense, but then when you look at them next to each other, it's like, oh yeah, these are different skis.
Yeah.
These were designed for different things. So, and I like what you said about K2. You know, among all these brands up here, K2 is one of the most dedicated to freeride, freestyle, yep. soft snow performance. So it's awesome to see a company like that have two skis over there on that side
right.
of the wall.
And almost could have been three.
Sure, yeah. Next up is the Armada Magic J. We've talked about a lot of athletes so far, and boy, it would be a shame if we just skipped over the athlete for this ski. This is Tanner Hall's ski. It has been for a long time. It's always gets the lion graphic, which is kind of Tanner Hall's sign. Mm-hmm. We also get a little ski boss indication on the tail of the ski. Pretty sure that's Tanner's signature down there. I see the T.
It looks like he wrote FAM.
Anyways, this is Tanner Hall's ski, and it's a pretty unique one, yep. really. 2,360 grams, and this is, what, a 180 centimeter length? I believe.
Yep.
Yes, 180. This ski only comes in 2 lengths, 180 and 190. So even though we're kind of on the shorter side of the spectrum from some of the skis we looked at, it's a little beefier.
Yeah.
And this ski's kind of, what's unique about it is you look at this shape and you probably wouldn't think it's as strong as it is. But then if you think about Tanner Hall as a skier and what he does, he skis like really gnarly big mountain lines, and he also does like triple backflips into powder.
Right.
And that's what this ski is designed for. So lots and lots and lots of rocker. You know, another ski with kind of that 5-point shaping concept. So it's going to ski a little shorter. That allows for easier edge release in soft snow, more of a smooth, catch-free feel. Tons of rocker up here, but a good amount of camber as well. And it's kind of one of those things where, like, yeah, it's a good forearm hand workout because it's almost impossible to decamber it with just your hands. And then a lot of tail rocker back here, too. And Bob and I, before we started filming, were like, is that symmetrical? And it's pretty darn close. It's probably the closest thing you're going to see to a symmetrical ski in this width range. You know, to kind of touch on mount point again, like I got these flipped upside down, and the mount point's only like 3 centimeters back from true center, which is extremely rare on a ski this wide. It's so symmetrical, I don't even know which one's upside down right now. So obviously some freestyle influence in its shape, being the most centered ski on this wall. But then Armada ranks the stiffness of the tips of this ski as 10 out of 10. Yeah. And we were kind of like, I don't know about that. Like, that doesn't really feel like 10 out of 10. But then you start trying to flex like this part of the ski, and that's 10 out of 10. Yeah. So really, really strong feel from basically one hand to the other, which you can kind of see is supported by that step down sidewall and a little bit more core thickness. Yeah. So you're definitely getting a stiffer feel underfoot. That's allowing for those just challenging, aggressive, high-speed, big mountain lines. It's also allowing somebody like Tanner to land massive 100-foot airs in the backcountry. You know, you don't necessarily... Right, and like when you're skiing like that and skiing aggressively, you in a lot of situations you don't want this or you don't want that. You know, though that skiing style is different than what you're seeing here. This is a little bit more designed for speed and power and going really big. And it's what, 127 underfoot, so pretty wide. It's built for Tanner. Right. And like not many other people, you know, I think that's fair to say. Yep. But if you're, if you're aspiring the next Tanner Hall, this is a great ski. Or if you're somebody who, you go out in the backcountry, you build big jumps, and you go big, this is a great ski. It's a little much to me for a resort powder ski. I think Armada makes some better skis if you're going to stick within the resort. Yeah, and we're kind of dealing with a very specific, type of skier and amount of skiers. Yeah, these last two skis are kind of ridiculous in some ways. But they got to make them. They got to have the extremes. We got to have something to counteract, the 65 millimeter underfoot World Cup giant slaloms. Right, and there are skiers that want this. Yep. Kind of going back to the QST Blank, those skiers that were so disappointed that the QST 118 is going away. Yeah. There's even people further than that are like, no, I want something that's 127 or 129. Right. Got anything wider? That's kind of what I feel like with something like this. This is the Blizzard Spur. This underwent a change starting last year. Yeah, it used to be that crazy asymmetrical shape. And even before that, it was just like a wider Cochise. Yep. So yeah, it went asymmetrical for a year or two, and now we're back to symmetrical and mostly flat. We'll put them together in a second here. A couple of interesting things. Even we could have just said, this is 129 underfoot done by. You're floating. Yeah, we talked about it like when we get to the Spur. Here's the Spur. See you later. Yeah. But
But there are a few things that are a little bit interesting about this that are worth noting. This is the 189, 2240 grams. This goes down to a 159, so it definitely has the capability of appealing to the broadest range of skiers.
Yeah.
You know, where you have like a 180 and a 190, you know, a 176 and a 186. You know, there's limited length choices in some of these bigger
Nocta
skis.
doesn't go very short.
Yeah, and this one does. So it does get a little bit narrower when you get to that 159, maybe 125.
Something like
I'm
that.
not sure, but you know, if you see a 159 that's 125 underfoot, like it looks so silly.
Almost like a snowboard.
Yeah. So it's just, you know, it's interesting that they're making this kind of a powder ski for the people, you know, and a different type of mentality than that older Spur that, like, I think it just came in a 192 or something.
I think so.
So a lot more range with this one. And then we're getting this, I would say, the second most camber, full rocker versus
Yeah.
the
The
Nocta.
closest to being flat, yeah.
Yeah, if you just look down it, you'd say that's flat. You put them together, and there's just the very slightest amount of camber underfoot there. But like you said, where do you start it? You know,
Right,
here.
where do you measure it?
Yeah, so just a ton of drifty, floaty performance coming out of this relatively flat base here, and that's gonna give you the float for sure. And then, you know, nice, smooth, even rounded taper here at the end, especially at this 189. That's going to come in handy. You don't want this to be any less taper than that, because that's just going to be too hooky. You know, it would be like this without the amphibio rocker.
Right.
You know, it would just be, the edge would want to hook up and stay engaged. 30.5 meter turn radius.
Massive turn radius.
Yep, very straight. You know, again, you look down the base of it, and it's hard to see much of a side cut at all. So that's just going to make this thing want to go straight, but also, you know, it's easy to kind of manipulate the turn shape on it. So it just makes it a little bit more drifty and smeary with that turn shape. And then just one other thing, you know, holding the ski, they did kind of make this kind of step down sidewall. What was the other one over there that had some of that milled out? You mentioned it on the core. I'm thinking of like something else. Anyway, they've removed some of the material from the sidewall here. I guess Tracer. When you mentioned Tracer, I was thinking it.
Yeah. Probably the best representation or closest comparison on this wall would be the core. Kind of how they round that out.
So just taking a little bit of material out here, if they had made this thing a full vertical
just makes it more
sidewall.
compliant.
Yep, you're just going to be able to bend and get this thing up on edge a little bit more.
Yeah, and a ski, like you were saying, when it's 30.5 meter turn radius, that's designed to do like really long, drifty turns, where I think that's another place where that kind of step down construction comes into play.
Yep.
It's not as catchy. Like I think about when Shane McConkey side slipped that spine.
Yep.
Like if you want to do something like that, this will do it really well. You know, the shorter your turn radius, the more a ski is going to want to link up and make that radius. So when you go all the way to 30 something, it's allowing you to just like put the ski sideways and just let it go.
Yeah. And surprisingly stiff. You know, I would say put this in close to the core, in the core range in terms of just that stiff flex.
Yep.
So that's going to really pop it up out of the snow and keep it on top.
Specific deep powder ski.
Yep. Would not want to ski this thing anywhere else other than deep, fresh, soft snow.
Right. Going back to maybe this ski, I can't remember when we brought up cat tracks and like you're going to be on firm snow sometimes. Don't get the Spur if that's what you're going to be doing. Like get a Rustler, get something with a little bit more firm snow performance. That's truly like a heli ski, cat skiing type of ski. Yep.
And a lot of fun when you get in the right spot, like a lot of these things are.
Yeah.
Very conditions dependent.
A lot of these skis are specific tools.
Yeah.
You know, we've done a lot of all mountain comparisons, even like that mid 100 freeride comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Ton of versatility to those skis. A lot of these skis are designed for a specific application.
Yeah. But pretty cool how we have such a range from a 108 with 2 sheets of metal to a 129.
Yeah, if you put the Spur up there real quick, like makes this look narrow.
Yeah. Looking at this whole wall, any ski that we pick up in our warehouse seems narrow after doing this.
Yep.
Even the 112, when you pick up the 112 after dealing with these.
Yeah.
It's
like, oh, this thing's so little.
Yeah.
What was funny is yesterday we were filming some snowboards on this wall, and with all the snowboards up here, I was like, these things are tiny.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're huge. So anyways, that is our powder ski comparison. This is definitely the widest we've ever gone in our comparison series. All thanks to your comments. You guys asked for this, so hopefully you enjoyed it. It was a pretty fun one for us to do because we don't really we don't go this wide that often in content in general.
I mean, I don't own anything this wide.
All right.
I start at 105.
All right, we got to get Bob some wider skis. I could see you getting a, 194 QST Blank.
Yeah, I like that thing.
I think it would be a nice addition to your quiver.
Oh, yeah.
So that's it. Let us know if you have any questions. As always, we'll be back next week with another comparison. We're going to start women's comparisons pretty soon. And then we got to go narrow into front side. And I think we got mid-90s left on the men's side too. So a lot of skis still to talk about. So yeah, we'll talk to you then.
Bye.